Welcome to the Obvious Podcast. This is episode number 102.
Part two.
Part two. Oh, yeah. Episode number 102 is a part two. I'm Sonny Macon, COO at ABC Florida East Coast.
And I'm Peter Daiga, President and CEO at ABC Florida East Coast.
You are listening or watching the Obvious Podcast, where all opinions expressed are our own. And in this one, it's a lot of our opinions, unless we say otherwise, and we will.
Make sure that you're subscribed to the Obvious Podcast wherever you listen. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you never miss a new episode. And don't forget, YouTube has a couple feeds. So if you're listening to one and it's all audio, you're not on the actual video one. So make sure you get that one. You can also connect with us on Instagram, X, Truth Social, and TikTok, where we share clips, updates, and more. All of our links are waiting for you in the show notes. Have feedback or an idea for a future episode? Send us a note anytime at theobvious@abceastflorida.com. Happy Friday, Sonny. Welcome to this part two.
Welcome. Let's get started. So what's the big question?
You had a big question.
Yes, is taxation theft?
Whoa.
Yeah, that's my question.
Is taxation theft?
Is taxation theft?
All right. So way to kick off part two.
Part two.
After our prelude.
Taxation theft.
How would you answer that?
So, yes, I would say it's theft.
Because you and I talked about this before, and I had to think about it a bit. And so I'm gonna disagree from a technicality.
Okay.
Because I think theft, the technical definition of theft is the illegal confiscation of something. And the problem is that when you're the government, you determine what's legal.
So the confiscator gets to write the laws.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
So yeah, you're right. So on the technicality,
I would say they that's why you can never sue them.
So it's moral theft and not legal theft because they write the law.
Well, that's a great distinction.
Right.
Yeah.
So and especially on the issue of property taxes, this is really what drives me batty.
Now, and by the way, that doesn't mean that it's not wrong.
Right.
I'm not a.
Yeah. Hence
I think you and I have had conversations in the past about my political development, if you will, or maturity, and how I flirted when I was younger in college and around that age.
Oh, with being a libertarian?
Yeah, with being a libertarian. I mean, I think there are some legitimate roles for government, and I think we're lucky that we have a national government that taxes us for a strong military, and there are certainly we can go into the conversation of what other things. So I'm not a person that's like completely opposed, but again, like we started talking in round one. I mean, where does it end? And when it starts to get to the affordability question, and you never really own your home, and then everything is taxed.
Well, hold on. Let's talk about
4 or 5 different ways.
I don't want to just kind of roll over the you never really own your home part. There's a whole cottage industry called tax certification sales, tax certificates. I can never say that word.
Yeah,
tax certificate sales, right? And the whole basis of that is
if delinquent properties
for delinquent.
Right,
for delinquent properties. And the whole basis of this cottage industry is that if you own your home mortgage free, so your home has been paid off, right? You own your home and you fail to pay the property taxes, the government just sells that right to those property taxes to an investor who can just come in, kick you out, and take over your house. Now, it takes about 3-4 years to do that. But there's a mechanism in place. There's literally a legal mechanism in place to boot you out of your house if you don't pay the government annual taxes on a house that's paid off.
Yeah.
And so to me, the fact that they do that to old people I can't say old people because now it's seasoned citizens.
Whatever.
Right? I mean, I can say that because look at that. I got like salt and pepper all over my beard and hair. Yeah. But the fact that you can do that to somebody who is older or retired or whatever and is like now being kicked out because they didn't have $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 a year to pay your taxes is insane.
Yep.
It's insane.
Yep.
And the fact that none of us even question it, we don't even object to that.
I welcome the whole affordability conversation because bring it on.
Yeah.
We got Amendment 3 in the state of Florida. Can you tell me one of the things impacting the affordability of your living day to day than the local and state taxes, primarily local taxes that you pay on your property? I mean, there's nothing greater. There's nothing impacting the affordability more.
Yeah. Well, but I've seen arguments from the other side of and it's so interesting because the arguments are all very politically split. So the left side of the aisle is very much like, oh no, insurance is a bigger problem.
Insurance is a problem.
Insurance is absolutely a problem, but it's not a bigger problem.
Right.
Right?
Right. And by the way, when I pay off my house, I can cancel the insurance if I
Exactly. But you can't cancel the property taxes.
Yeah.
The main reason most of us carry insurance is because we have, like, I live really far from the ocean. I'm like 14 miles west of the ocean.
Yeah.
When my house is paid off, I am not
Going
going
to cancel the windstorm
because I have hurricane impact insurance or hurricane impact windows. I have a generator. You know, once my roof is replaced, I'm not carrying it. Oh, of course, I have to carry it as long as I have a mortgage. But I have every right.
I mean, you probably still keep the liability, fire, theft, you know, because those things are
but
like
I'll drop
nothing.
wind.
They're pennies.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's the hurricane and the wind insurance.
The wind is wind mitigation is what kills you. I would.
Yeah, and we don't disagree, by the way. We think the legislature ought to address more a lot of the tort issues. You know, how many times have I said on this program, you want to know what's driving insurance costs? Watch your local news if you don't. Watch your local news tonight, and in a half hour, count how many lawyer commercials are on there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't think that's driving the cost of home insurance and car insurance. So anyway, So we're not, we're on your side if you want to throw in insurance in terms of this affordability conversation. But you know what side we're not on is you just sneaking right past the whole taxation and property tax issue.
Your insurance company can't take your house over if you don't pay them.
That's true too.
Right? They're not going to be like, it's our house now, get out of here.
Yeah, although they'll let your mortgage holder know, and then your mortgage holder will maybe buy insurance for you. And to your
forced place, I think it's called forced placement or something like that. But we haven't even talked about how the fact that taxes go up based on valuation, property taxes. Right? So the whole unrealized gain point, we haven't talked about that. And we haven't talked about because of that.
Talk about it.
Well, because of that.
That is a really good point.
The amount of.
Nobody thinks of.
Right. And the amount of increase local government has had in its coffers and is now like, oh no, we're going to go broke. Like when the market crashed in 2008 and property taxes cratered, I didn't see any governments go bankrupt. Right? Like, what the hell was that? Like, you survived that crash. Now you're telling me this is going to destroy you?
Yeah. But what do you mean? I mean, take another whack at explaining so you buy a home.
You buy a home.
And let's use simple round numbers.
$100,000.
$100,000 home. Right. That's your mortgage.
That's your mortgage.
And that's what initially the government's going to tax you on, minus your exemptions that we talked about. But what the government does over the years is, that real estate market is hot. 10, 20 years from now, they might say your home's worth $500,000.
Yep.
Well, you never got that other $400,000. You're not going to get that until the day not cash in your pocket, but they're going to tax you on it, and that's your point.
Yep.
I mean, they are taxing you on unrealized gains. I mean, not even the government claims that, do they?
No.
But until you sell it, they have unrealized gains. Do they tax you? But the local government does. Yep. These are the things you're not going to get that in the commercial from the sheriffs or from the local government about how you should vote against Amendment 3. And again, back to I think in episode 1, government is never going to shrink unless they're forced to.
Exactly.
They never are. And we have an opportunity as voters to pass Amendment 3 and force. By the way, it's not a big lift. It's like going back 3 years.
To go back to the valuation
to their spending 3 years ago. It's not a long time ago. And if they can't figure that out, then they probably all need to then we can all throw them all out if they don't respond properly.
Right.
But you got to start by making them do their job.
Right.
And don't buy these ads. Sorry. And this is, one of those, the association is not taking an official position, although I would argue we should. I would argue that a strong residential market, which this will
inevitably create,
create, is going to result quid pro quo, right, in a strong commercial market, one that's going to continue to drive commercial construction in the state of Florida. Yep. It used to be we would not hesitate, as an organization if something like that happened, but for some reason we've decided, and neither the chapter or the state has taken a position on this. So this fits into one of those. This is our personal opinion.
Yep.
On this show, but I quite frankly think it has a very significant impact.
I can believe the home builders are all over this. This is so good for their business. If you're living in a high,
not taking a position either.
Nope. I mean, at least the Florida chapters, our local chapters haven't. But if you're living in Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, and you're paying insane amount of property taxes.
Yeah.
And you have the option to move, you're going to move.
Yeah, but here's the problem, Sonny. We talked about it in the first episode. This socialism loves to divide
Yeah.
and conquer. I would argue, Democrats love to do that too. Have loved to do that for a while. As long as you peel off just enough people to where you still, and that's what they're trying to do here.
Preserve their power.
That's what they're trying to do here. There's only so many property owners
Right.
in the state of Florida. Are there enough of them? Because some of them will even be convinced by these ads, that you're not going to have fire protection or police or your parks are going to go away or whatever.
Yeah.
Some of those property owners are even going to be convinced to vote against it. So it makes getting 60% of all the voters more and more challenging and difficult. I'm holding out hope that there is a silent majority. Most of the homeowners in this state of Florida understand the affordability question. It's not just talk. It's not just a slogan, the way it is for a lot of people right now. It wasn't, by the way, for 4 years when average inflation was 9 or 10%.
Right. Right.
And by the way, folks, when you have 9 or 10% inflation for 2 or 3 or 4 years, those prices aren't coming down.
Yeah.
That's called a recession.
Yeah.
I mean, do we really want a recession where prices are shrinking? I mean, it's probably not going to happen. When those prices go up, they go up and they stay up. The only thing you can hope for is to stop that increase and then to increase wages. That you're right. That's the way that's the way you get out of this. Yeah. So again, more of the lies in this whole affordability. You can say a lot of things about the left, but saying they're bad sloganeers is not something to accuse them of.
No.
I mean, they know how to latch on to we just got to remind them, taxes on your property are probably the biggest thing affecting affordability.
Yeah.
And you have an opportunity to do something about it this November.
Yeah.
So
because I was thinking of like a way, like where would I this is my personal opinion, where would I compromise on an issue like this, right?
okay.
Because I've been thinking about that. Like, of course, I think it's criminal that just to live in my house that I'm paying for with tax money, I got to pay taxes every year. Just like I think it's criminal, I got to pay for just to keep a freaking license plate on my car, I got to pay every year. That's insane. Like, what? I already bought the car with money that you taxed heavily. And so what could I live with? So I was thinking about this. I was like, okay, so my acquisition price of my house, and that's it. Like, I don't give a crap what it's worth.
Tax me at that.
Tax me at that.
Tax the next guy when he buys it at that.
At a higher value. Tax them at a higher
them then.
value, right? And then only use my money for fire, school, and parks, and police, obviously. That's it. I'm not paying for anything else.
By the way, don't get me started on schools.
Yeah.
I think I've talked for a while on this program and with you about, I've been around a while.
Yeah.
And the argument always was with increased enrollment, which Florida had in most of its counties for many, many decades because we were growing.
Right.
And then the argument always was from school districts that we need more money with growing enrollment. Never mind the fact that the equation always was you were paid per student. So by your enrollment growing, you automatically were getting more. Right? Because if you get paid so much per student, if your enrollment's growing, you're automatically getting more. But they also
What about all the money from the casinos and all the money from all with lottery? I mean, you're always like, oh, it's going to education. Where the hell does the money go?
and it is. I know people complain about that, but that's small. That's a drop in the bucket, believe it or not, compared to, but it does. It goes to education. But the point is, they would argue that, well, with growth enrollment, our needs go beyond just the per student costs. You need to allocate and appropriate more money. The irony that a lot of places in Florida now are actually seeing enrollment reductions. Mm-hmm. And that's not because our population isn't increasing. It is. Mm-hmm. It's because we have become a more pro-choice, educational choice state. Mm-hmm. And
so schools are having to compete.
Schools are having to compete.
And they're losing.
With charter schools, with private schools, because we now will fund the funding follows the student now, which, by the way, is another thing. We're really getting far stream here, aren't we? You got me fired up.
Let's go.
That was another one of my things over the years is how do you define public education? And a lot of people, in particular on the left, will define public education by who owns the building where you go to school. I think that's crazy.
Of course.
Your public education isn't because you're going to a building that's owned by the county.
Right.
Your public education is because of who paid for it.
Who paid for it? It's the public.
The public has decided it's in our interest to make sure every person in this country has a certain minimum level of education. Now, by the way, that minimum level has gotten really low. But we still hold true to that value, that objective.
Yeah.
All right. And so that means we provide the money for you to get that education.
Yeah.
And in Florida, we've decided more and more in recent years that it doesn't matter where you get it, we're going to fund it.
Yeah.
That to me is that's public education. And nowadays, people are taking those public dollars to private schools, to charter schools. Some people are doing it at home. I think the homeschoolers get the money as well.
They get some money too.
And what that means is the public schools, I don't even like using that term, the government-owned schools, now competing with people, and their enrollments are going down. And guess what their argument is? They need more money because their enrollment is going down. So this is a good sales technique. We need more money if the enrollment's going up, and we need more money if it's a win-win for the public tax collectors.
And I know they get really upset at private schools getting the money, and they get really upset at homeschoolers getting the money.
Why? They don't get upset with them getting the money.
Huh?
Well, they get the money to educate a student. Why shouldn't?
Right. Public school bureaucrats and teachers get really upset at that. And I'm always struck by that. So if the homeowner, the homeschool kid, his parents own a home, they're paying taxes, right? Why shouldn't they get the money? Mm-hmm. By the way, I'm going to come back to this for a second. If the private school family owns a home, they're paying taxes. Why shouldn't they get the money for their kid to go wherever the hell they want the kid to go, right? Mm-hmm. Now, this is one thing I really...
That's public education.
Exactly. And that's the one thing that really, I just wanted to say it in a simpler way. But one thing that really drives me insane is this. I have a good friend who lives in Palm Beach on the island. His house, and I'm giving you numbers from like 5 years ago because I haven't paid attention to it since then. 5 years ago, pre-COVID, his house was assessed at about $18 million. His tax bill was over $230,000.
Okay.
Right?
Now we're going into a new.
But I want to make this point.
A limit? Shouldn't there be an upper limit on this? I mean, do you really?
How many freaking roads is that guy using?
Right,
how many kids is he sending to public schools?
How many schools is he building?
How many 911 calls is he making? Right? And I'm like $230,000 a year in taxes.
Right? Shouldn't there be an upper limit?
Anyway, drives me insane.
Our thinking is
insane. But you know what? The left will be like, "Well, he's rich. That's his fair share." Like, well, BS. That's BS. That's complete. If you're going to argue that the taxation pays for services, then the taxation should be limited to paying for the services. Yeah. He shouldn't be paying $230,000 because his house is assessed more.
Right. All right. I'm all for an upper limit above and beyond maybe a base level of services because there are going to be some people below that who aren't paying for the base level. So you're going to have somebody on top, but without limit to where you're paying,
Why is nobody complaining about the renters who pay nothing? I mean, you could argue that the guy who owns the building is paying for it, but like the renters don't pay anything. They're sending kids to school. They're calling 911.
Yeah.
How are you going to assess them for that? I mean, there's such a, especially on this issue of taxes, there's such a hypocrisy around it. And there's the whole premise is based on sloppy thinking, profoundly sloppy thinking. I don't know who the hell passed this in the first place. Like I'm mad at Lincoln or whoever passed the income tax thing the first time.
No, I don't think it went back that far. I think it was Roosevelt, not Teddy, but the
Franklin?
Franklin.
Of course.
I think it was Franklin in that period.
Okay. Wow. Well, anyway, we're running out of time and
no. Say it isn't so. We got some more time. Come on, let's stretch this out.
I think this has been very, very controversial as is. I'm sure we'll get some mail on this. But now this is me again, I'm not speaking for ABC. Me personally, I'm going to be supporting this amendment because I think government needs to learn to function in an efficient manner.
It's the only way you will ever have government shrink or make them make harder decisions. If you think government should have to make some harder decisions, and by the way, if you look at the trajectory of the various increases, it's been way higher than inflation for the last decade or so. So, and if you really think affordability is an issue, and everybody seems to think it is today, and with good reason, here's your best chance to impact your everyday affordability of you making ends meet.
Yeah,
this is the biggest thing you can do. So,
I mean, there's a through line. I mean, there's a joke about it, right? What's that saying? The only certainty in life is death and taxes, right? Like, and the idea that we live in a society. I mean, again, compared to like sort of the Boston Tea Party people, we live in a society where every single thing we ever do that's in any way transactional, it's touched by taxes. I remember when I'm so old enough to remember when e-commerce started, and you could buy something on Amazon, and because there was no Amazon facilities in Florida,
right, you didn't have to pay taxes.
You didn't pay sales taxes,
and then we
quickly. That got quickly remedied.
Very quickly.
You know, I mean,
Didn't
that
require a constitutional amendment either. No.
I think that lasted like 6 months, 7 months. They were like, "Oh crap! There's all this money
Sure.
we could be charging people on sales tax," and it just was. I mean, in a flash, it changed nationwide. Like every state was like, "Nope, you got to pay us."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I know people who play such tricks. They'll go to like New York and they'll be like, I have a friend who has an address in a different state. They'll be like, they'll ship their item to that state just so they wouldn't have to pay New York taxes on
Like sales tax or something that's big.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at 10, 11, 12% tax.
Yeah.
I have friends in California who do that. You know, they'll have something shipped like to Arizona to go pick it up in Arizona from their friend.
Yeah.
You know?
By the way, I want to make the point that, I think there probably are some smaller counties that if Amendment 3 passes, it's not going to impact the larger counties. Forget it. Don't feel
the
sorry
larger
for them.
counties will be fine.
The smaller counties, I think, have a legitimate argument because a lot of the vast majority of their homes are probably going to be valued under. But if we do this, and again, this is to my point, oftentimes government won't actually make the hard decisions or do what's necessary until you force them into it.
Right.
All right. And if the voters force our government into this, trust me, the state has already said it would not take a large amount for the state to annually appropriate money to support smaller rural counties.
So I'm gonna
and their services, and they would do that. Yeah. We would do that, but they're not going to do it unless you force them to it. Right. So don't feel sorry for these local governments that are, by the way, have enough money to spend your tax dollars on lobbying you to defeat the amendment. That ought to piss you off enough, to be for it, but. You're just never ever going to force government to make these hard decisions unless you force them to.
So I heard I was sitting in the room when the governor gave a speech. This was it was in West Palm Beach.
The Tower Club or the
it was one of those things, but it's the one that has like a politician or somebody prominent come like every month. We're members of it, and I can't even remember the name. And the governor was giving a speech on this topic, and he basically was, and he's sort of.
Done the math.
He's done the math. He's like almost autistic in how good he is with how he has his command on numbers because he had no notes. And he's like, there's about 20 counties. He's like, look, you're in Palm Beach County, you'll be fine, right? And he's like, you will increase your sales tax. You have enough money. Your local governments have enough money in their coffers. You have enough of a property tax base. Plus you have a tourism base. Plus you have all this. He said, there's about 20 counties in the state out of 67. That
need some help.
Need help. And he's like, and the state of Florida and its general fund has enough money to easily subsidize those counties and provide their residents the tax relief.
I'm not surprised that he's figured that out.
Oh yeah. 20 counties. Like he had the numbers. I mean, he was talking about how many billions there were.
By the way, part of the scare tactics also that's used against this is the burden will just be shifted. Right. To commercial property or other stuff, which again would strike sensibilities with our audience,
of course.
With us.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt that might happen, but if it does, then we got to hold them accountable. That's to my point. You're never going to force hard decisions, and if their response to this is to do that, then throw them all out. We'll have an opportunity to do that too, because if they can't figure out how to do this, and it's only going back, I forget 3 or 4 years. If they can't figure out how to do this,
operate on their budget from 3 years ago,
right. Without shifting the entire burden to other people, then they don't deserve to be elected. And
we also didn't even talk about like, hey, who determines the value of your house? Like we didn't even. There's like a whole governmental department dedicated to that. That's what your house is worth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you want to appeal it, go hire a lawyer and good luck with that.
Yeah,
right.
Good luck. I mean, we do have a Save Your Homes that was passed, I don't know, 20 years ago, a long time ago, maybe 30 years ago. We've had it for a long time, which limits the appraisal increase.
Yep, 3%.
They can do.
But it's 3% of still. It's 3% of hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
By the way, if you ever, I bet most people don't, but you get that trim notice every year from local government, and there's usually 3 columns. There's like, if we do nothing, your taxes will be this. If we pass our proposed budget, it'll be X. And the do nothing is always lower than on mine. I mean, over the years, I'm like, the irony. Do nothing. Just do nothing, government. Yeah. Do nothing, and my taxes will slowly go down, usually because the bonds are being paid off or a certain amount of debt or whatnot is coming off the books. So,
all right.
In any event.
We're being told to wrap this up. So,
is taxation theft? What do you think about Amendment 3?
Changed your mind?
What do you think about Amendment 3? Are we overtaxed? Is there something that we're not taxing that's moving that we can tax? Send us your ideas.
I'm just worried about the intangible taxes for homes now. Like I'm just like somebody's going to hear this and they're like, that's a great idea.
Oh, Lord.
Well, thank you for joining us. All right, I'm going to just read this. Make sure you subscribe to our feed so you won't miss a single episode. Thank you for listening and honoring us with your time. We look forward to sharing another episode with you next Friday.
And for comments, send us an email at theobvious@abceastflorida.com. What do you think? Is this going to benefit or harm commercial construction? Let us know.
Take care.